Hey everyone, today I'm gonna tell you how to make the footage from your Mavic Pro or Mavic Mini or whatever drone that you're using and turn it into a really cinematic look just by adding some ND filters. So let's go to it. I came across the idea of how can I make my footage from the drone more cinematic. I've been seeing this footage from Peter McKinnon, from all of these amazing YouTubers and filmmakers, and I've been seeing that their images look amazing. They're using the Mavic Pro 2, they're using the Mavic Mini, Mavic Air, they use whatever, call it Phantom, Inspire One, whatever drone in the market they use, and always looks amazing. So I've been like kind of trying to figure out how is the day to this. Okay, looking through several tutorials in YouTube about cinematography and backstage, about how they film things, I came across with the understanding that in Hollywood, or the famous cinematic look that we all talk about, it comes from actually filters, many filters in the cameras. And it's not only like gradient filters and this and that filters. I've been coming across so many different filters that people use in Hollywood, professionals use in Hollywood, in order to make their images more cinematic. So since I just wanted to try, I had to order these really cheap ND filters from Newer on Amazon. I believe I paid like $15 for these 4 filters package, and it's really interesting actually. The only thing I don't like is that it comes from this really, I don't know why they put these lightnings here, or thunder, whatever, you know, in the box. I think it would have looked just better if it was black. But anyways, you open it, and inside we have a nice little something from Newer with a bunch of signatures from people that I don't know and I don't care about. And this very simple box that is like a case protecting the filters, really nice actually. And inside we have 4 filters. Start with the ND4, we have ND8, ND16 and ND32. The one that I used for the video today was the N32, and it happened to be really nice, really handy actually. I think the other ND filters might be used maybe when you're filming sunsets or when the day is about to go down, the sun is about to go down. But the filter ND32, I used it with really harsh sunlight. I cannot say that I did it at midday, but I did it like around 5-6 p.m. in the summer, which is really strong light. You will see it in the footage, and it was really interesting to see how much I could actually pull down the exposure and the shutter speed to get the settings that I wanted for what I was using. So I was filming in 2.7K at 30 frames per second, and I needed to have it at 60 to the second shutter speed. And if I didn't have these filters on the drone, it'll be impossible to film it. So let's go see the images. So here we can see the ungraded image taken with the drone using the filter number 32. As you can see, it's a really clean image. We have a really strong hard sunlight. It's the afternoon in the summer. You can tell by the shadows, but still the image looks really nice. It's well exposed. Everything is manual. We're shooting 160 to the second, ISO 100, and you can see how beautiful the image looks. Very cinematic. What makes it cinematic is the motion blur that is given by the low shutter speed. Due to I'm shooting in 2.7K at 30 frames per second with the Mavic Pro. And you can see how cinematic and pleasing to the eye this looks. Now I'm flying back to the house with the sun in the front, camera tilt down. It's not giving me much flare or weird colors. Now we have the image with the filter. I'm gonna take it off right now, removing the filter, same settings. We can see right now how overexposed it will be if I didn't have the filter on. So when I put the filter on, I can actually use the shutter speed that I need for the frame rate that I'm using. But without the filters, I have to use higher frame rates and higher shutter speeds. Like in this case, you can see it's 160 is manual. When I change it to automatic, the drone is gonna expose and it's gonna show us how high the shutter speed has got to be in order to compensate the sunlight. It was 1,000 to the second. It's eventually going to be 1,250 to the second, 1,800 right now to the second, in order to expose, and it even looks a little overexposed right now. So let's see the second test that we're going to do with the drone. Now we're seeing all the settings: 2.7K, 30 frames per second, 1/2000 to the second shutter speed. That's what the drone is telling me to use, and I even have it a little bit underexposed in my settings for the automatic exposure, but still it's really bright. You can see now how every single thing looks more electronic. The cinematicness of the shot is already gone. It's just an image that looks just the way it is, taken from a digital camera from a small drone. But just by adding one of these small filters, we can totally change it and make it look way more cinematic, just by having a little bit of motion blur. Here I just retouched a little the exposure in the drone because it was looking way too overexposed. Now I'm flying back to the house, same shot, looks pretty similar to the other in terms of color, which tells that the filters don't make a really big or strong color cast on the image, but still it looks really digital. It's not like cinematic at all, which is not what we're looking for. So now I'm just flying home, and we're gonna go to the second test that we're gonna do right now. So here you can see how I'm filming this tree. This is without the filters. The settings, as you can see, is 1/250 to the second, 2.7K, 30 frames per second, and 100 ISO. Here's the shot taken with the drone. There you can see when the cars go by, you can see how digital it looks. There's no motion blur at all. It's a really high frame rate. So it's a really high shutter speed. And there's a little bit of wind moving the branches of the tree back and forth. And you can see every single movement. There's no motion blur at all. And in the movies, what makes it actually to look cinematic is the motion blur. Because if you're shooting at 30 frames per second, your shutter speed is gonna be 1/60 to the second, tops, 1/60 to the second. But in this case, because it was really high, it just looks way too electronic. So now we have the filter on, and we're gonna do the same test. It's 1/60 to the second, 30 frames per second, ISO 200 in order to compensate the darkness of the image. Here you have the image taken from the drone. You can see now when the cars go by, how there's a little bit of motion blur as they go by. You can see when the wind moves the branches, you're gonna see how the branches look a little blur when they move, but everything else in the image is sharp and it's nice, which is what makes it cinematic. If we have like a better scenario, for example, the ocean, the waves crashing, you will see how beautiful they look with a little bit of motion blur, making it more cinematic. Here we have the comparison. On the left hand side, we have the image without the filter, and on the right hand side with the filter, and you can totally see the difference, how the one on the right have more cinematic look, more blurriness to the motion of the things, and overall it looks less digital, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to make the images in a certain way less sharp. So now we're seeing the footage that we saw at the very beginning. Now it's color graded with the orange teal look, and of course I'm using the filter, the 32 ND filter from Newer, and this is at 30 frames per second, 2.7K, and it's 60 to the second shutter speed, and you can tell how cinematic and beautiful this looks. When you move over the city, you can see how there's a little bit of motion blur in the things that are moving, like the cars, like the trees, even the buildings a little bit. It looks really nice and pleasing to the eye. It's just a huge difference that just one filter can do to an image coming from a drone. It looks to me really pleasing to the eye, and I hope that you enjoy it. This is coming back home, also very cinematic, very beautiful. It's just an awesome image, and the big change is just done by a simple filter. So as you guys could see in the video, we can make huge changes in the image and the quality of the image just by adding some cheap filters. Of course, there are better quality filters, different brands, way more expensive. Probably they have better performance than these filters, but just to make a test, just to try, I'm really pleased with the result from these newer filters. The link is in the description of this video in case you wanna go buy it yourself and try it yourself. I'm really pleased, and it's interesting to see how in Hollywood they are actually looking for that film look, and we are always trying to get our images more and more sharp, sharper and sharper every time. But when we realize that the cinematic look that we're looking for is actually less sharp images, and to achieve that we need to filter them with these kind of filters. Sometimes even in my big camera, in my Sony, I throw on this Black Pro Mist filter from Tiffany. This one gives a really nice cinematic look. It's like haze, it's like fog and haze in a filter. You just screw it on top of your lens, and any light or any highlight in the image is gonna have like a little blur, like a little blush, like if there was a little bit of mist. That's why it's called Black Pro Mist. It's really interesting. I'm gonna make a review about this. If you wanna see it, don't forget to click on subscribe and hit the like button and the notifications bell down there, so you can actually be informed, or YouTube tells you every time that I upload a video, because this review about this is coming up, and it's gonna be really cool what you can do with this. Also very cheap on the budget option. So I hope that you liked this video. I hope that you liked this topic. I'm looking forward to see what you can do with those filters. If you try, and let me know if you have tried them. Please let me know in the comment section, and see you in the next video. Thank you so much.